All right. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Media Wipe, the show where we talk about all kinds of lost media. I'm joined by my new host here,
Christopher Borninger. Sorry about that.
and before we get into the show, I should probably explain that Xavier has been, well, he hasn't been kicked off, but he left the program, so we're
He's
down a host, so we have a new one.
Vanished into thin air, we should say.
Yeah, we'll just put it like that. But what we're going to be doing today is a little different than last episode. We're going to be explaining through each topic of the first episode of Media Wipe, because we actually did get an update on one of them through a comment on the YouTube channel, which that's going to be pretty interesting. So without further ado, we're going to get into the first topic, and after that, we're going to discuss for a few minutes, have our theories, and then get to the song.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I Love Bees was an ARG to hype up Halo 2. As a part of the ARG, 220 axons were needed to be activated. Now, what an axon in this case were like phone booths. You'd have to call in and submit a code that you found online while solving the ARG. Now, during this ARG, Hurricane Ivan hit, which hit the Caribbean islands in the southeast U.S. pretty hard. A guy actually, during this storm, managed to brave the entire thing, get to one of the axons that was just getting battered by this rain and wind, and actually activate it.
Yeah, that's actually somewhat similar to this one thing I remember when there was this guy who walked through an entire snowstorm to try to get to his favorite Indian food restaurant. They were closed.
Oh, no.
Yeah, poor soul, but it gets the best of us.
This is the only recorded case during the entire thing of an operator breaking character and telling him, dude, it's a hurricane. Put the phone down. The call has been lost since the calls were not recorded.
Yeah.
Since, obviously, they'd have to, consent to that and all
And also,
that.
it was a hurricane.
Well, yeah. It would probably be a little hard to record a call during the middle of what is essentially the most violent thing that nature can throw at you.
Yeah.
I would say this has, a next to zero chance of this ever being found. This is something that I genuinely think we will probably never find, because even if there was somebody recording, you gotta figure, this was almost 20 years ago.
Yeah, that's gonna be insanely tough
That is a lot of time to, have a recording get damaged, get destroyed, things like that.
Well, we have found some things like that in the past, but those were rare cases.
Yeah, I mean, we did have Panchico Death Metal last time.
Yeah.
And Subways of Your Mind, which was really, really close to being gone.
Definitely.
But it's very, very uncommon, to put it lightly, that any of these things would ever be even, close to being found.
Yeah, and also pretty unlikely that they could even be thought of.
Right. So what do you think about, this guy braving an entire hurricane just to go activate an axon in his favorite ARG?
I think the dude's about as dedicated as a Disney fan going to Disneyland in a tornado.
Oh hurricane. Yeah. Did that happen too?
No, I don't think it did, but I'm pretty certain if it did, you likely would find someone trying to ride one of the most deadly rail coasters at a tornado.
There's a tornado ripping through Disneyland. There's always going to be somebody wanting to ride Thunder Mountain.
That checks out.
Yeah. The other thing about this that I find interesting is the guy actually breaking character.
That too. That's effectively the same thing.
One or two calls that are actually online, it sounds like whoever they had answering them was really dedicated to making sure everything stayed in character, and that this was immersive as possible. Mm-hmm. But the fact that somebody had to break character and tell a dude that he was a psychopath for going out in the middle of what was basically the equivalent of the worst storm that anybody had experienced.
Yeah, at least at the time.
Yeah, going out in that and then trying to activate an axon is wild.
Yeah, that is definitely more dedicated than some of us can be.
I would say most people are not even close to that kind of dedication. Even I am. As somebody who is autistically obsessed with this kind of stuff, I could not do that.
Yeah.
Because it's just not worth it.
Yeah.
I don't want to risk my life trying to activate an axon.
More. Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to ask you about is that, do you think that there is a chance that this could be found?
if it can be found, it's a low chance. I think it's unlikely to be found, but if it can, it's definitely low.
Yeah, like this is something we're talking like next to 0%. Like we're talking below like 0.400 1% chance of being found.
Dude, that's as much radiation. That's more mass than that's lower of a chance than a black hole loses mass.
Yeah. But overall, I would say this is still a pretty interesting case.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Even if it unfortunately is unlikely to be found.
Now, I think we should let our listeners enjoy a little bit of a song from the game that this ARG was meant to hype up.
Yeah.
So, without further ado, why don't we give them a little taste of Blow Me Away by Breaking Benjamin.
Yeah. And welcome back.
We are back to the show. I hope y'all enjoyed that song. It was one of my personal favorites for a really long time.
Yeah.
But now that we've moved past, Blow Me Away and that whole Halo 2 incident, I think we should move into something a little bit more
serious, I should say.
Serious. Yeah, I think that's the best way to put it. Now, a dead man walking tornado is, at least the legend goes, if you see a person in the tornado, you are going to die.
Pretty much. I mean, that's the way it is typically with most tornadoes, but even more so with one of those.
Yeah, it's an incredibly rare phenomenon where a tornado gains another
vortex,
and it gives the illusion that the tornado was walking. Now, this actually occurred during one of the most destructive tornadoes in Texas history, which is the Gerald, Texas F5 from 1997. Now, this tornado, for a little bit of context, it mainly killed people in one subdivision.
Yeah, but
it still ended up
it's a lot of people.
ended up ending the lives of 27 residents of the town and did approximately $40 million in damage.
Beefy stuff.
And not only just that, but there were hundreds of injuries from this. It was a very destructive tornado. Now, during the chaos of this tornado, a guy by the name of Scott Beckwith, he posted up on the side of a road to take pictures of this tornado.
Yeah,
and that's where you guys can actually find the few images from this tornado of the dead man walking.
Yeah, I mean, other than that, it's a bunch of home videos, which are really hard to find.
We're getting to that part. Oh. Now, there are no discovered home videos out there, at least at the current moment, of the Gerald, Texas dead man walking. We only have home videos of the tornado before and after that. Mm-hmm. For some reason, there's just this, 10-minute window where nobody seems to have recorded.
I mean, it may have also been because they were probably hiding in a bathtub.
I mean, that's true, but at the same time, you would expect that somebody at least would get even a second of footage.
Yeah, or at least snap a photo of it.
Well, we have photos. Oh. It's just we need moving images. We need videos of it.
Yeah, I suppose so, yeah.
And there's just...
Otherwise, it'd just be easily edited.
Yeah, there's just nothing out there at the moment. This one, I would say, does have a very likely chance of being found.
Probably. And
because even though Jarrow is a small town...
It still is around 400 people.
Yeah, there had to have been at least somebody recording at that time.
And heck, for all we know, maybe there was a storm chaser that was out there that is unknown and just decided to capture it. Who knows?
Right. So if you're a resident of Gerald, Texas, I would highly recommend that you go into your old camera rolls.
Yeah, and just check out if you got anything.
Yeah, of old digital cameras, phones, things like that. Just double check to make sure you don't have one of the most sought after videos in tornado history.
Pretty much, yeah.
Now, I'm not entirely sure about this, but I'm pretty sure that there is a reward if you come forward with this.
There's a reward?
There might, yeah.
Well, I guess there's even more incentive to do so.
But yeah, if you have any kind of leads on this, please let us know.
Yeah.
And we would love to hear that.
Yeah, we also would love to just hear about that, I suppose.
Yeah. Now, the thing about this that kind of strikes me as weird, besides nobody recording, is the fact that we have a lot of pictures of it. But yet, there is no recordings.
Yeah.
You'd still think that there'd be something, you know?
Pretty well, yeah. I mean, if there's that many... How many photos were there?
I mean, still only 5, but
still,
compare
that's a lot.
5 photos to 0 videos.
Fair, yeah.
Though, the other thing is the dead man walking tornadoes, they're a really superstitious kind of thing.
Yeah.
Now, there's the natural phenomenon and there's the legend. And... Well, there's a legend that goes, if you see the tornado, you're about to die.
We were talking about that earlier.
We were talking about that earlier. And would you say that this rings true for the most part?
Probably, yeah, given the fact that there's two vertices, and that's super dangerous.
I mean, there are 2 vertices, but at the same time, or vortices.
Oh, that's how you pronounce that. Sorry about that.
But overall, I would still say that it's not too much more dangerous than a normal tornado.
I suppose. But if it's a bit more wildly moving, it could be a lot more dangerous. But
it's really just
given that they move somewhat in a similar line, which is what I think you're about to say.
It really just boils down to the size of the tornado, because there are much bigger tornadoes that I would say are much more dangerous than, say, the average dead man walking.
Fair, yeah.
Now, why don't we kind of spin things over to one of Chris's personal favorite songs? That's going to be Crown of Thorns by Saga. I hope you enjoy. Welcome back to the show, everybody.
Yep.
Now, after that amazing song, I think we should bring things into a territory that's a little darker. Since we're at the end of the show and we're reviewing the first episode of Media Wipe here, it only makes sense to talk about the final entry, which was
Twist X.
Scary
stuff.
Now, one of my favorite shows when I was younger was Storm Chasers. Now, if you didn't know what this show was, it was pretty much going around to various different Storm Chaser groups across the country and following them as they went to, storm chase.
Yeah.
It was really entertaining. It was, besides Finding Bigfoot, it was like one of my favorite shows when I was a kid.
Yeah, Finding Bigfoot was pretty fun.
And overall, I think the show still holds up incredibly well. Now, if you don't know what a Storm Chaser is, which I know you probably do, but just in case. Yeah. A storm chaser is an adventurer whose goal is to capture the footage of different storms.
I wouldn't say an adventurer. I'd say it's more like just a cameraman going out and capturing storms.
I'd say that's fair enough, but at the same time, you got to have some kind of
respect for
the storm, because if you don't, it'll whisk you away.
Yeah, like that one guy in Tornado.
Now, back to seriousness here.
Yeah.
The Twist X team was one of the major teams on Storm Chasers, and they were honestly my favorite when I was growing up. Though what happened to them was very unfortunate. They consisted of Tim Samaras, his son Rob Samaras, and their friend Carl Young.
Yeah.
And on May 31st of 2013, they went to go film the El Reno tornado, which they didn't know this at the time, but it would go on to consider the widest tornado ever recorded.
1 whole mile, baby.
Oh, more than that, actually. 2.6 at its peak.
Holy smokes.
Now, the El Reno tornado was considered an F3, but many meteorologists want to go back and reconsider this as an F5 because of not only the amount of damage, but the size of the tornado.
Definitely.
Yeah, because this only had a little bit less damage than the Gerald, Texas tornado, which was an F5.
Okay, so yeah, probably it could be reclassified as that.
Or at least even an F4, because
not just an F3.
This was not an F3. It touched down at 6:03, and it just screwed everything up for 40 minutes straight. By the end of by the end of this tornado,
that's longer than the show.
There were 30 million in damages, 151 injuries, and 8 people killed. 4 of those people were storm chasers. 3 of those people were Twist X. Now, on that day, Twist X set out to capture this tornado, and with a few other groups, and the guy in front of them went by the name of Dan Robinson.
I take it that was the additional death?
No. Oh. No, he lived. He has footage of the tornado barely missing him on his dash cam on his YouTube channel, which you can look at right now. But this dash cam also caught the tornado picking up the Twist X team. And as a result, that has been withheld out of respect. Because understood. Honestly, I would do the same thing.
Respect for your colleagues,
Put it in his shoes. Like, you just watched a group of 3 of your friends just get sucked away and die. I too would just make sure that nobody outside the family would ever get to see that footage. And to be honest, I kind of hope this footage remains lost.
Yeah, that's just sort of out of respect. It should be kept lost.
I agree, because it's very personal footage, and I don't think that the world needs to see 3 guys in the worst moments of their life.
Yeah.
Now, I think it's important that we get to the comments on Media Live Episode 1.
Oh, yeah.
This is going to be very important to our wrap-up here. This is from user PD Store. This was 3 weeks ago. There have been 2 days and 17 years of part-time chasing that I voluntarily declined to chase because of the modeled setup. May 31st, 2013 was one of them. The other was an equally dangerous modeled day in the early 2000s that busted near Tulsa, thankfully. My chase partner is related to the Samarases and has been one of the few to actually view the withheld media from within the car. This year, he told me what was on it. I will withhold the last words discernible on the tape, but I can say they were incredibly moving. Dan's cut is probably still out there in many places that copied Dan's video for compilation and examination purposes. It consists merely of a pair of lights disappearing in the distant background. The initial impression, due to the occlude and unexpected left turn that almost all weaker tornadoes failed to survive, was that the car blew a flat and they were simply caught in the expanding wedge. The tornado widened rapidly to its record length, subjecting all within it to extremely fast subvortices. Dan missed it, and Tim hit it out of random chance at this point.
Yeah.
Though there are around half a dozen chasers who have been killed in single and double car wrecks driving to, from, and in one case during a chase, the 3 in the Twist X crew and an additional one from the El Reno on his first ever chase that day are the only 4 known chaser fatalities due to a tornado.
Whoa.
There's a lot to unpack here, so we're going to start with Chris's thoughts on these messages.
Honestly, yeah, that's just a really well-written comment.
Well, besides it being well-written, I think that it's incredibly moving that not only did somebody with like connections to this case
reach out to us, and
actually told us their story very personally. And if you're watching this PD store, thank you. I know this might have been actually it's not might have been it was probably hard to type up, and I'm sorry that your chasing partner lost some of his closest friends and relatives, and my heart goes out to you. I'm sorry. Now, Dan's cut still being out there, I definitely, unfortunately, think is possible.
Most likely, I mean,
especially for examination purposes.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm thinking it could be just simply used as a training video for most of these places as well as like the dangers.
Like what not to do. Yeah.
But then again, the situation was just really random, so
yeah,
I don't think it'd make a good training video.
Yeah, and the reason that they got hit was just very unfortunate. The occlude, which once again most tornadoes don't survive. Hitting them was it's the left turn that every tornado takes.
Huh. I wonder why that's the case.
Yeah, but it ended up like creating subvortices that ended up hitting them.
Yeah.
And, which is the other thing reason I think it should be an F5.
Definitely.
Because
something
of
surviving like that.
How dangerous it was.
Yeah.
It was one of the like usually an F3 or even an F4 will disappear at the occlude.
Yeah, but
however, it just continued to hammer on for another 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's just terrifying.
Aye.
And the other thing I think is interesting is that the only 4 chaser deaths to ever die to a tornado were on this day.
Yeah. Who was actually, now I'm curious. Who was the fourth person?
Now, I don't know their name. I couldn't find anything when I was trying to research it.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently, through the comment, and I trust the comment here, but it was their first chase ever. And that's another very unfortunate situation.
Tough luck.
Yeah, it's just so unlucky that your first chase ended up being
definitely
one of the most destructive F3 tornadoes in recorded history. Not even that, but one of the most devastating tornadoes
in general.
Yeah, in El Reno, not in El Reno history, because El Reno itself is a tornado magnet of a town.
Oh, definitely.
They've had F4s, they've had F5s, and they've had the most destructive F3.
Yeah.
Now, overall, I would say that this comment definitely has opened my eyes to the dangers of this.
Oh, yeah. If they weren't open before to the dangers of storm chasing, it definitely is now.
The reason that I say this is that I actually wanted to start doing storm chasing a little while ago.
I see.
And once I ended up reading through this comment, I kind of realized that, you know, even though it would be amazing to get firsthand footage of like developing storms, it's not worth risking my life. Yeah. Especially for getting in car accidents.
Accidents, getting swept up.
I don't want to be the fifth guy. I don't want to be the 5th guy to die in a tornado. Now, on this somber note, I think we should move on to our final song of the night, which is going to be Pilot the Dune by Slowburn.
Aye. Well, And we're back with our outro this round.
Yeah, unfortunately, after that last story, I think it's time for us to go. Because I had another story planned for this, but to be honest, I don't think it would be good to put this in after
especially one like that.
And out of respect for everybody who passed in the last story, I think it's time we end here.
Understood, man.
Now, once again, thank you for being my co-host for this episode.
No worries, man.
And just keep this in mind, everybody. Keep your head on a swivel and stay safe out there.
All right. See y'all later.